In my thoughts, I use the technique of positive visualization.
You are listening to the Keys of Shai.
Self-help, awareness, and inspiration. And it's the Keys of Shai. The Keys definitely want to change.
Greetings. How's everybody doing today? All right. Today we have a special guest with us, Mr. Aunthrae Gillespie. He's a published poet since age 8. After high school, he enlisted and served our country for 4 years active duty service in the U.S. Army. He's now head of Wyvern Products and Promotions, a company that supports organic food industry and the ethnic arts and entertainment through direct sales and promotions. He is the author of the book Spiritual Economics, and he's currently pursuing degrees in biology and electronics. So what we're going to do at this time is ask you to please put your hands together and help us welcome to the show, Mr. Aunthrae Gillespie. How's it going, sir?
Good. How we doing today?
Oh, we're doing great, man. We're doing great. It's a pleasure having you join us on today's show, the Keys of Shai show. I want you to, in your words, if you feel free to add to the introduction to tell, a little bit more about yourself.
As you said, I was a published poet since the age of 8. I actually started reading when I was 4 years old. Around the age of 8, I think we've discussed this before, I actually found the power of words. Not just, forming sentences, but knowing that one word can start a war, or a group of words can save nations. So the power of words, how you use them, why you use them, and the way you place them in sentences can change not only the meaning, but the perception that other people have when you speak or when they read your writing. So I started focusing on just the power of words, and, throughout time I've learned several languages and been to several countries, and I found that we all basically have the same emotional standards throughout, the planet. It's just that the way we use words change the way we communicate. So,
okay, so basically, you're saying that the environment which we surround ourselves in plays a big part in the words that we use, right?
True, exactly.
Okay, well, to be published at age 8 doing poetry, at such a young age, what was your interest to make you start doing poetry at such a young age?
Well, if you ever read the book, you'll see, being, and we all know the story, when you're fairly highly intelligent, people treat you kind of strangely. So, I spent a lot of time alone, and I found that, poetry was a way for me to, emotionalize, or maybe not emotionalize, but get it out of me and put it on paper so that it wasn't, causing stress and depression in me.
Exactly.
So all my disagreeable emotions I would put on paper, and I think that's what really got people, involved. I guess they were worried about me or whatever, but it was the way I was writing that caused the adults to see what I was doing, and they're the ones who promoted me. So,
okay, that sounds good, man. To be so open at such a young age, that says a lot. So tell us about Wyvern Promotions. What is that about?
Wyvern Promotions is it's a grassroots organization. I've been throughout my journeys. I've met many people, and as an artist, I see a lot of artists out here who just don't know how to promote themselves or don't have the outlets for their art. So I've originally formed Wyvern Productions so that other people could have a way to promote themselves. So, I'll run into an artist who might make jewelry, so I'll buy wholesale some of their jewelry, and then I'll promote them and their jewelry when I do my direct sales, or if it's music, or if it's clothing, or whatever the artistry is. I just make sure they have an outlet for it. So, it's not really my company by myself, but it's a social organization that other people can use, and it is licensed, and people can sell their stuff and make money off of their own artistry.
Okay, because my next question was going to be about the ethnic arts and the entertainment through direct sales. So, tell the audience a little bit more if they want to get in touch with you to, find out more about what you're doing. How can they get in touch with you?
Well, you can always just put my name in any search engine, and I should be the top 12 that comes up. I think I'm the only Aunthrae on the planet. But so you can do Facebook. You can get on my YouTube. I've done videos. I do music. Anywhere on the web you can contact me, and you should be able to look up my actual numbers to call the company and leave messages if you actually have some product that you want promoted, or if you need some assistance finding outlets for promoting your art or your product. So, I make it fairly easy to contact me. So if you just do the work to look me up, you can find me.
Okay, and the name, ladies and gentlemen, is spelled. His name is spelled Aunthrae, and that's AUNTHRAE. And so that way, like he's saying, you should be able to put that in any of your search engines and have him pop up to where you can get in touch with him and find out more about the company and more about what he's doing and how you can be a part of it to help promote yourself and your products. Okay, we have, if you're just joining us, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us today Mr. Aunthrae Gillespie, and he's a very bright young man, has a big future ahead of him, and he's doing a lot of good and trying to unify the youth, and not just the youth, but people in general, to help them to bring their culture, their arts, their goods, their talents to the table in one collective voice, so to speak, to help benefit all instead of just one person. Is that correct?
Exactly. And as we spoke of a couple of days ago, hopefully in the next year and a half, we'll have the Artist Guild prepared in structure. So, it's going to open up, actual platform where you can actually come perform. And it'll be hosted on YouTube. It'll be hosted on Facebook. So, it'll be actual live, a live feed for whatever art. If you're a singer, if you're an actor, if you do screenplays, if you're a fashion designer, so you'll have a stage where you can actually put a show on for an audience, so to speak, and it'll go out all over the web. So I'm trying to get us out there as much as possible and give you basically full control over your art, so you don't really have to sell out, as some people say.
Okay, my question is, I have listeners that are in different parts of the country and world, and I'm sure the ones that are listening are going to want to know where, is this going to be something that's taking place in per city, or is this something that are you organizing over the web, that you will have different people in place in different parts of the country or world that'll be able to organize and structure these events?
Well, I would love to have a live web where it's global. Right now, right now it is a web. You can get on YouTube, you can get on these view things, and you can do some social media on the web. But I want to centralize it to an extent. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So it'll be physical. This is, the Artist Guild will be a physical presence. It's going to be, a structure. It's going to be. It goes back to my wildlife. It's going to be a wildlife preserve. It's going to put all of those aspects of women products into one spot. And, if you're from overseas, you can come over here. But also, in the future, I hope you can just, submit videos, and I can have the videos again, because it will be a webcast. So, we'll be on YouTube, and we'll be on Facebook. And if you submit videos, then I hope to be able to present you as part of the forum. But it's also going to be like a talent competition also. So that's really why it's a physical thing. For those people who actually show up, they're going to pay to perform, and then they're going to be judged on the web and around the world and right there at the competition. And then monthly there'll be prizes and contracts and so on. So, within, maybe the next 3 years, I hope it is global, and I hope everybody in the entertainment industry taps in and can find new and present artists that they can do business with.
I think that, just from talking to you, I see it growing, and I see it probably being bigger than what you think it would probably be, would grow to, just for putting that out in the universe and just taking a stance and saying, I want to do something positive. You're always going to, you get what you sow. And if these are the seeds that you sow, and of course you're going to reap the benefits of that, of putting yourself in a position where you are growing this into a global force. Right now, where are you located? So if we got listeners in Atlanta or listeners in Savannah or Florida, they're saying, hey, okay, look, this is going to be an avenue for my music or my talent or my fashion design. Where do you think you see the first event taking place, so people can kind of have an idea, okay, this is how far we would have to travel to make this happen for ourselves?
Well, right now I am in Milledgeville, and some of the people that I'm involved with are in Milledgeville, Georgia, which is 30. Well, it's about an hour and a half from Atlanta. It's probably about 35 minutes from Macon, Georgia. So it's conveniently located in central Georgia. But we are, as I said, by the time sometime next year, we're going to try to move it out closer to Atlanta. Probably not in the actual district, maybe around the Covington, Conyers area, so we can get some land and actually do the whole concert events. But right now we're working with Big Boy Kane and RC Entertainment, and we're having a concert sometime at the end of this month, around the 28th, 29th, right here in Milledgeville, and that should be the beginning of all of this that's going to take place from this month all the way into next year.
Okay. That sounds good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, we have with us today Mr. Aunthrae Gillespie, and he's talking right now on the first half of the show about his promotion company. Is it Wyvern?
Wyvern, however you like to pronounce it.
Okay, I'm just make sure we get you straight there. He's talking about a promotion company and how it would be unifying artists and all across the board to help promote your products, to help promote your service and your talents. And so what we're going to do here, we'll take a quick commercial break. And when we come back from the commercial break, we're going to get into your book, Spiritual Economics. And this is going to be one you're not going to want to miss, folks. It's definitely going to be a good show. So bear with us. We'll take a commercial break and we'll be right back.
In the mood for that perfect gift? Then we got just what you're looking for. Our professionally trained staff here at Unique Creations will provide you with quality service and sure to live beyond your expectations. Visit us on the web at uniquelycreations.weebly.com or check us out on Facebook. And don't forget to like us. As always, thank you for choosing Unique Creations and continuing to make us number one.
This moment in little-known black history has been brought to you by the Keys of Shai. How's it going, everybody? I got a question for you. If I was to ask you, who was the first black president of the United States? Who comes to mind? I'll give you a minute to think about it. Time's up. Now, if you're like most of us, I know you're probably thinking Barack Obama, right? But guess what? He wasn't. Actually, the first black president of the United States was a man named John Hanson. John Hanson was born April 3rd, 1721, and died November 15th, 1783. Was a Maryland patriot during the American Revolution and the first president under the new nation of the Articles of Confederation. From this point on, the following are presidents of the United States. As a member of the Maryland Assembly from 1757, he became an active supporter in the resistance to the British tax measures of the 1760s and was an early supporter of independence. As a delegate to the Continental Congress from 1780 to 1782, he signed the Articles of Confederation, which played an important part in persuading New York and Virginia to give up their claims to the Western Territory. Because he was elected by Congress as the President of the United States, assembled in 1781, Hanson has sometimes been called the first President of the United States. This moment in little-known black history has been brought to you by the Keys of Shai. Want to expose your business to unlimited potential customers? Then advertise with us on the Keys of Shai. We offer packages that are sure to suit your budget. We are currently offering local businesses in the Middle Georgia area the opportunity to expand their business on a global scale. For more details, inbox us at facebook.com/Keys of Shai. That's KEYSOFSHAI. Or email us at keysofshai@gmail.com. As always, thank you and create a wonderful day.
You are listening to the Keys of Shai.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with Mr. Aunthrae Gillespie. And we're going to be getting into on the second half of the show, we'll be getting into his book, Spiritual Economics. Aunthrae, are you with us?
Yes, I am, brother. How are you?
Okay, doing great. Your book, Spiritual Economics.
Yes.
What inspired you to write that book, and tell us a little bit about it?
As I spoke to you guys earlier, again, as a younger guy, and you'll read about this if you read the book. As I said, I spent a lot of time to myself, so I'm very well self-educated. So as I say, by the time of 8 years old, I was already a published poet. But some things happened between 4 and 8, and this is kind of one of the things I was talking about with the emotional distress that I was going through as a younger person. Around 6 years old, I was invited to go to Sunday school at a church, at the local church. So I went to Sunday school, and I had never heard anything about Christianity or religion or of any sort. I was 6 years old, but they took me to school, up to Sunday school. They did the Sunday school lesson, and then they gave me a Bible. So I went back home and I read the Bible. That's what I did. When I was 6 years old, I read everything that had words on it. As I told you earlier, I was almost addicted to the human language. So, I read the Bible, and, I made my perceptions of a 6-year-old. I just read it as a story. I didn't know there was any extra, added, perception that was needed to be taken. So it was just a story to me. But the next Sunday when I went to school, or to church, to the Sunday school, they had us paint pictures of Moses. I happened to paint him black. Because, I read the story. The story is, as a baby, he was sitting down the river. He landed in Egypt, which is in Africa. Africans are black, so I painted him black. I didn't know there was a problem with it until, they start educating me to what religion meant. They told me he was supposed to be white and this, that, and the other thing. I explained it as I just explained it. It didn't make sense to me that he was white. How can a black woman take a white baby, claim it as hers, and so on and so forth? So, I was kicked out of church at 6 years old, which, as you can imagine, caused some difficulties for me. I didn't really understand. So from then on, that was one of my lessons is what is religion? What is spirituality? What is all this thing that people live and kill for? So, over time, I started studying all the religions, all the spiritual aspects, voodoo, magic, up, down, left, right, everything that people said, this is the reason why we are what we are. So,
right.
By the time I was 13, I had read all the books. I started becoming more scientific than spirituality because spirituality just didn't make sense. But then I became a scientist, and then after a while, science really doesn't always make sense. So I started realizing that, the human mentality or the human education system or whatever you want to call this that makes us think whatever we think, for whatever reason we think, there's kinks in the chain. There's faults in the logic. So over time, I started looking for, and as I told you before, everybody's telling the same story. The story is always the same. It doesn't matter if you're talking about ATOM in science or ADAM in spirituality. It's always the same. It's the same story. You add this, you add that, you get something else. So then I started looking at, okay, if it's just a calculation, or some people want to do numerology and say it's all mathematics, whatever. If it's just a calculation, then we have to start wondering, what do we start with? And in the beginning of the book, if you read the intro, I say it, and the Bible has their little interpretation. And that's what I use. In Genesis, it says, "My spirit shall not long strive with man, but his days shall be numbered 120 years." So I took that number. Okay, so basically, the Bible is saying that the human being lasts 120 years. So we start talking about a shelf life. Then I went back to science, which I say is shelf life, or the life of what they say may be an isotope or an atom or radioactive, element. It has a life cycle. Then I went and I start. We all saw the movie The Matrix, and they equate the human being with a battery. So I started putting this perception together that if we are just this limited energy storage unit, then we need to start calculating how we use our energy. When you got your cell phone and it only has 2 bars, you don't just start calling everybody all day long, do you? You say, I got to save these 2 bars. If you only got $2 in your pocket, you're not just going to go out there and buy everything because you might need to eat, so you're going to save that $2. So I start thinking the economics of the energy usage in your life. Then you can start realizing why people die at certain ages or why people have certain diseases because of the way you use or govern or, what you might say, budget your energy use.
Okay, because that's what I was going to ask you right here, right? When you, because, when we hear economics, right, the first thing we think of is money and finances. And so that's what I was going to ask you, what exactly is spiritual economics?
It is exactly what you just said. If you can govern your finances, if you know how much money is in your pocket at any point in time or how much money is in the bank at any point in time, and you can calculate along the scale of the stock market and you can do all your investments and your dividends with your money, don't you think that there's a spiritual value as well?
Oh, yeah, of
Don't
course.
you think there's an emotional value as well? Don't you think there's a mental value as well? So now start thinking about all your broken relationships. Why didn't the relationship work out? Because the economics wasn't there. You were giving more than you were receiving, or you were taking more than you were giving. And you ran into a deficit, or you ran into, whatever you want to call it. You had an economic crash in your relationship because the value of the emotions were imbalanced. So then you can go to your spiritual. Why didn't this church do right for you? Why didn't that religion do right for you? Why didn't this spiritual order work for you? Because the economics weren't there. Either you couldn't afford to invest your true potential, or they truly weren't giving you a great deal on your spiritual value.
Okay, hey, very interesting points. Very, very interesting points. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, we're talking with Mr. Aunthrae Gillespie, and he's the author of the book Spiritual Economics. And really, where can this book be found at? Because I know that people are listening, they're going to want to get their hands on this book. Where can they find this book at?
It's being offered on Amazon.com right now, and it's in both the written form and the digital form on Kindle books. So anybody who wants it can just go to Amazon.com, put my name in again. It's the full title is Spiritual Economics: The Quest for the Nine Veils, and it's only part 1, which is Spiritual Economics. There are other books coming later on this year, but that's the beginning of it. And if you read the book totally through, you'll actually understand what this is really about. Because, like I tell folks, in the book, there's also a section about sexuality and relationships, and that, because I started at the beginning. We were created to be something, not someone. And I think that's really where we run into so many obstacles is our selfish preservation. We want to perceive things as it's happening to us instead of having the power and the I say just, you got to have a touch of arrogance in life. Keep your humbleness, but you got to have a touch of arrogance to know that you were built to do a specific job nobody else can do. There's parts of your being that nobody else has. There are things that are valuable in you that no one can get anywhere else. That's the only reason you have friends, family, or anybody who wants to hang around you. There's something that you offer them. It's all economics. It's all business, even when it's personal business. You really got to get your emotions outside of your own reality so that you can do business, even with yourself. You are the product that you're selling all the time.
Exactly. I was reading your intro for the book. It says, every thought, every word, every action you commit is an investment towards or against your spiritual value. Expound on the spiritual value for our listeners.
All right, this is the thing. Okay, we live in 3 dimensions. And this is what people really aren't And I don't want to say that they're not paying attention or they don't know, because I really don't know. Because, like I said, this is just a collection of information I've gotten in my time on this planet, but I've never written in any of these books that I've read. I didn't create these societies that I've studied, so I really can't say what is true or what is not. But this is my perception from the collection of information I've gotten, is that we live in three dimensions. Everybody talks about this 3D, the triangulation, the prism, the effect. You must understand, if you're going to do the prism, recognize what the prism does. It takes 1 point of light and separates it into 7 to 9 barriers that gives you your rainbow effect, regardless of how you do it. Now, the science between that, you can do the calculations. They've already done that, but you got to recognize that if you are the prism, every impulse that affects you then can be broken up as well into 7 to 9 degrees. And we do not take the time to calculate. We just take the first initial effect. So, instead of, some of us become bonfires, but you could have been a firework. You understand? And it's all the same process of combustion. It's just either focusing the energy or channeling the energy in different ways. We don't take the time to actually even quantize what our lives are. We don't know the value of our lives because we're so busy chasing our dreams or our wants or whatever it is that you don't know that you're spending more than you're getting. And most people are, and I'm not trying to be too cynical, but most people are trying to barter to their best interest, not yours. I don't care how many people say they love you. If you really calculate your life, most of the people who say they love you are the same people who hurt you sooner or later.
Now, when you just said that about the spending our energy, right?
Exactly.
Is that a way of saying that? Okay, I'm gonna tell you what I gathered from that. When I hear that we're doing so many different things, the first thing that I think of is lack of focus. That a lot of energy is wasted because of trying to do so many different things at one time instead of focusing our energy on one. Say, for instance, even if it is a dream or a goal, but focusing that energy on that specific thing or little things that lead up to accomplishing that goal. Are we along the same lines in that as far as spending our energy?
That is exactly what I'm saying. Exactly. I mean, those are your words. When I say it, I call it bricks and walls. You got to lay one brick at a time, and over time, it can become a wall of any height, width, or breadth. But it's going to be one brick at a time. You're not just going to wake up and say, poof, there's a wall. And that's one of the misconceptions a lot of people say, well, I have a dream. I'm just going to go out there and try out, and I'm going to get my dream. No. Anybody in existence who's ever accomplished anything had to work, and most people suffered more than normal before they became successful in anything. And that's why most people are not successful. They can't take the pain. They're not going to make the actual investment to lose, because nobody likes to lose. So everybody, does a half measure. I'm gonna do this much, and we're gonna see what happens. No, you got to go to Vegas and just ball out if you're really going to get it the way you want to do it. Or you're going to have to sit down and actually start practicing. Or you're going to have to actually meditate. You're going to have to stop whatever else is in your life, and as you say, focus on that one thing. And then when you get that one thing, then branch out and do another thing. But you got to have a sense of accomplishment, and that's why people fail, because they never, ever find a sense of accomplishment ever in their life, because it's always half measures, and they always just trying to make do.
I can agree with that, and I hear people that I come across that may have 5 or 6 different goals, and they're trying to do all of them at the same time. And if it doesn't work out, it almost causes a depression in the mindset of a person to feel like, okay, well, I'm just going to give up on it, or maybe it's not for me. And some people even look at it from a religious point of view and say, well, maybe God doesn't want me to have this and that. And it's really not. It's the total opposite of that. Is let me do one thing that's going to lead to something greater. That's going to lead to something greater. In other words, having a starting point and an ending point, and let me do things, little things, that's going to each day or each week put me closer to the end result.
And that's exactly what it is. But now I don't want anybody to say, well, I can't focus on 5 things. You can't focus on 5 things. But as I say, even with my business, Wyvern Products, it's not just Wyvern Products. It's a conglomerate of 12 to 15 other companies. But I can't work on 12 to 15 other companies now, can I? No. So I do Wyvern Products, and then I find other sources to where I'm still trickling energy into those 15 other companies, but I'm not focusing on those 15 companies. I'm just keeping them in line, and as energy comes through, Wibram Products stands up, and automatically I can go to the next one, and it's half done by itself. But if I try to actually work on all 15, I'm not going to get anything done.
Yeah, you'll be running in circles. I got you 100% on that. You know, here's the thing I want to ask you, right? We are the effects of our spiritual value, right? So for the people that are now, keep in mind that there are people that are hearing you for the first time that have not looked at this information in that point of view, right? This may be something new to them. What are the effects of overspending or overdrafting, so to speak, your spiritual energy? What are effects on your health, well-being, or your mindset of overspending your spiritual value?
I'm going to say a word. It's called disease. We all know what disease is. All right? Now, let's break the word down and go dis-ease. All health, and any doctor will tell you, all health has a mental aspect. This is why we have the placebo effect with most medicine. What you think becomes what you are.
Say that again, brother.
What you think becomes what you are. The body is just a sounding board for your mental health. So if you start believing or thinking detrimental thoughts about yourself, this is where you start having activities that sooner or later develop into maybe cancer of any organ. Cancers, in medicine, we say cancers are usually either dietary or environmental detriment. Either you came in contact with chemicals or some type of material that now has embedded itself in your body somewhere, and it has started growing in an adverse effect, and that becomes a cancer. Or you, in turn, eat too much, smoke too much, drink too much, sex too much, whatever, and then that becomes a cancer. So this is what you're saying when you overspending. Anything you do, even if you go and work out too much, you can get arthritis. You can get, certain pulled joints that become, cystitic. So this overexertion of anything is going to cause a breakdown in that system. Now, when you start talking about spiritual is when I define spirituality of any sort, it is how you affect the environment around you. That is the spiritual value. Are you a helper? Are you a hunter? Are you a devourer of other people's energy? This is when you start talking about spiritual value. Do you add or do you take away? And now, if you go and start overexerting that thing, then it's going to cause a different type of cancer, which might not be a physical cancer, but is a cancer in your mentality or in your psychic perception of the world and the world that perceives you. That's when you become, as people say, oh, he's a bad person or she's an evil person.
Ladies and gentlemen, you hear it. If you are just tuning in to us, we have with us today Mr. Aunthrae Gillespie. He's the author of the book Spiritual Economics, and you can find this book on Amazon.com. And I'm sure that just from the little bit that he's given us, that this, if there's something that you would want to further read in and further your studies on, that he's well versed in the information that he's dispersing today. Mr. Aunthrae, give out your information again for those that want to get in touch with you or follow you on Facebook or anything in that note.
Well, you can look me up on Facebook at Aunthrae Gillespie. You can put the name in on any of your search engines, and you'll find all my connections from YouTube and Reverb Nation, some of my music. Some of my other writings are on Scrib.com. But as he said, the book is on Amazon.com, and you want to start there, that'd be a great place to know me.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in and checking us out today. We really appreciate your support. From here in the U.S. and abroad, we really appreciate your support. You become what you think about is one of the messages that Mr. Gillespie was leaving us with. So it's very important to watch your thoughts, because thoughts do become things. I'm your host, Doug Stevens, for the Keys of Shai Show. We'll talk to you soon. Create a good one.
correctness, suitability, or legality of any information on this show and will not be liable for any errors, omissions, or delays in this information or any losses, injuries, or damages arising from its use. All information is provided as is.